Captain's Log. Also visible, Captain's Rock, Captain's Tree, Captain's Sand, Captain's Dirt, Captain's Air, Captain's Grass, Captain's Plants. Well, welcome back to Factorio Space Exploration with your host, Captain Captain Zisteau. Last episode, we killed a whole bunch of worms, and we stockpiled a whole bunch of supplies to begin work on the next phase of the playthrough. We're going to build a gigantic nuclear power plant and a super duper big mega base. I've got a whole bunch of stuff stockpiled here. We have more than 40,000 express belts and 125,000 landfill and thousands of rail lines and inserters and machines and belts and pipes and all the other stuff we're going to need. We also expanded our territory. No longer are we confined to this one continent-sized island. Oh no, we now also control the island as well as the island, and made quite a bit of progress, kicking the aliens out of this long strip of land, which coincidentally is completely surrounded by water, which makes it, you guessed it, the island. Up to this point, we've been using cargo rockets to launch artillery to our remote artillery outposts, but now we're at the point where I'd like to start building on this landmass. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take advantage of this nice bottleneck right here. We're going to create a wall and going to add some turrets, and we are going to start making this place our own. So first thing we're going to do on our new island is place down some pump jacks. I want to use the artillery to continue killing the nests and the worms, but we need some help killing the actual bugs that are going to run up to our base. Now that they're going to have an actual path to get to us, they're going to try to do that. Oh, hello, autosave. Nice to see you. So we're going to start at first with a low power option for killing the bugs, because we don't have any infrastructure on this continent yet. We're going to put down some solar panels. I've brought a few hundred. We can always go back to get more if that's not enough. But we're going to use some. They're in here somewhere, I think. Did I bring them? Maybe I didn't bring them. Maybe I have to go back. We're going to use flamethrower turrets. That's right. So I've connected all the pump jacks together, and we've got a very simple train stop. We're going to just shuttle the oil to the outpost, to the bottleneck, back and forth. If we need more trains than just this one, I will deal with that later. That should be a simple fix. Of course, there's no power yet because we haven't put down any solar panels. First thing we need to do is lead the rail up the coast. Oh, autosave again. Autosave 1. Ah, nice. Nice to see you, jerk. Okay, anyway, here we go. Leading the rail up the coast. Captain's log. Captain's log. Captain's log. Captain's log. It's a captain's log. Look at that. It's the captain's log. Goodbye, captain's log. And here's a nice open field for the solar panels. I don't actually have a solar panel blueprint in my blueprint folder, so I guess we'll just put them down. However, it's not like they're going to be around long since we're about to make a ginormous nuclear power plant. And voila, oil outpost. Seems to be filling up the train fairly quick. Let's see how the power network is doing. Yeah, all right. Seems like that is more than enough power. So now we can go down to the other end of the rail line and we can set up the bottleneck. Whoa, look what we have here. I arrive at the bottleneck and we have fresh visitors. This is not your island anymore. I think we were probably just in time if they are actively expanding southwards. Okay, let's take a look at the pollution. Yeah, the pollution is covering all of that coastline, which I guess is pushing them to expand. Well, I guess it was a good time to set up this bottleneck. So I've got a blueprint here, but I don't want it launching the artillery until the rest of the thing is ready. We want the flamethrower turrets ready to go, so I'm going to make a duplicate of the blueprint, and then I'm going to remove the landing pad from that one, so we can be ready to go before we summon them. The blueprint does have laser turrets in it, and we don't have power for the laser turrets, so we're going to wait to place those until we have set up the nuclear power. And since the blueprint doesn't cover the whole bottleneck, I will just manually fill in this little maze here. So next thing we need to do is just give this train a route up to where it needs to drop off the oil. We're at the Bottleneck crude pickup spot. We want a full cargo, and then we're going to go to the Bottleneck crude drop-off point, and we want an empty cargo. That's it. Simple as that. Automatic. Let's go. There it is. And now the moment of truth. We should get an immediate launch and an immediate drop. Let's zoom over here and check. Yeah, there it is. Rocket is launching, and I also have some buffer warehouse chests with a whole bunch of artillery shells stored up. There it is already. Perfect. There they are. Okay. Now we're going to see. Yeah, there they go. Although I guess there's not that many aliens in range. Our circle is not that big. Oh, look at that. There was aliens right there. Didn't even know about. We are about to have some visitors. Oh boy. Okay. My weapons are at the ready. I shall be of assistance if possible. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Get it. Oh, you missed. You totally missed that. Didn't hit him at all. Alright, we have to repair some walls, and the robots also took damage. Oh, maybe I should turn off my roboport. My personal roboport. Oh my god. Oh boy. Oh boy. Boo-wee boop. Boo-wee boop. Just trying to distract him. I thought about launching a nuke, but maybe that's a bad idea. Whew. Okay, so there should be some robots here. Did all the construction robots just immediately die? Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. But we did kill them, and we have a bottleneck, so I guess that's good. I'm not exactly sure if the flamethrower turrets damage my own walls. I suppose if they were, then we would see the health ticking down, which does not seem to be the case, so I guess that's alright. Well, all the robots I brought with me for the outpost, they're all dead, but I do have some on my person that we can repair the damage. I think before we get distracted setting up the nuclear power plant, we should probably deal with some of these nearby nests, so let's get it over with. Oh, there they go. Here we go. We'll see. We will test the efficacy of only having flamethrower turrets without laser turrets or any kind of gun turret to help out. And they're on their way. They're marching off to war, or to their death, or both. I guess both. Yeah, both. Oh, they're like all stuck. Uh-oh. That is a lot of... Okay, I am definitely gonna help out this time. Boom! That's right. I may have nuked part of my own bottleneck, but it was probably worth the trade. Oh, wait. My roboport is on. That's not good. They're all gonna die. Oh, dang. I forgot to turn it off. I forgot to turn that off. Here, have one of those. Oh, I killed my robots! It's fine. It's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. In fact, I have replacement robots right there. Okay, maybe I can head them off a little bit. Oh, that's the wrong weapon. That didn't work. Okay, anyway, flamethrowers then, I guess. It is working. The walls are taking damage. Oh no. No. That was way too much. That was way too close. Too much collateral damage. Okay, jetpack. Too close. That's too much collateral damage. I just made that mistake, and then I made it immediately right after that. That was scary, but that's actually a fresh load of artillery. Okay, robots, please repair that. Thank you. So I've cleared out all the aliens a decent distance from our bottleneck. It seems to be more or less stable for the time being. It can manage itself. We don't have to babysit it, and we can work on getting the nuclear power up and running. We are going to reserve this big central area for the mega base, so anytime we need to move around the continent, I'm going to try to stick to the edges. And our entire power grid at the moment on this continent consists of just a few hundred solar panels, so we need to get the nuclear power up and running without too much infrastructure that's going to crash everything. So we're going to mine up this uranium down here, because it's out of the way of this central area. Even though there's uranium there, which we might mine later, we probably will, and a little bit of uranium right there, which we'll probably mine that too eventually. Hey, autosave, nice to see you. We're going to mine this stuff down here. We need to send some sulfuric acid down there. To make sulfuric acid, we need a little bit of iron, some iron plates. There is an iron patch right here, and we're mining the oil right here, so this seems like a good place to do that. So we'll make some sulfur, we'll bring up some iron plates, and then we will make some sulfuric acid. We also have water pools right there. We can use this same refinery to get the petroleum gas we're going to need. And then we'll just make an additional train line right here to send it down to the uranium. And there we go, a sulfuric acid train without a destination to go to. It's going to take this train a while to fill up. I made it a 141, and we're only using one chemical plant to make sulfuric acid without even beacons or modules. But we're going to replace this infrastructure with a more robust infrastructure once we have the megabase in place. And by the time we're ready to actually use it, it'll probably be done anyway. So, zooming out, we're down here at the uranium, and we're going to mine it up with basically something like this, at least to pick up the ore once it's mined. We can do something like that. But we also need space for the sulfuric acid train to show up, so I'm actually going to grab this stuff and just move it off to the side for a minute, and I'm going to copy paste this right here, and we're going to move it far enough over that there's room for the pumps once it shows up, and something like that is probably fine. Get rid of these inserters, we'll replace it with pumps, and then we'll have to rebuild this slightly to allow for the second train to coexist with the first train. Get rid of this guy. Replace that. Like so. There's an extra little piece right there. And we'll have to shift this over as well to allow space for both of the trains to be able to mingle. Yeah, they're going to mingle. Then we just have to build a rail up the coast to connect everything up via rail line. So this is what our infrastructure looks like, running on a whopping 250 solar panels. We've got a 141 sulfuric acid train. We also have a crude oil train going up to the bottleneck to fuel the flamethrower turrets. This thing is ready to be given a schedule. We want it to pick up sulfuric acid at the pickup spot. Very simple, full cargo. And then I want it to go to the sulfuric acid drop-off spot. Very simple until it has an empty cargo. That's it, and automatic. When it's full, it's not full, so it's not leaving yet. We also have an iron train here, which is, again, is a 141, which is going to fill really slowly, because I've only got I don't even have a radar down there, because it causes too much power. We've only got a few smelters, putting out a piddly 2 or 3 iron plates per second. But we're going to replace this later with something much more robust. So for now, it'll do. By the time we're ready to use it, I think it'll probably be full. So we have the rail going off to the side, we have a junction, and it goes down to the uranium here. And we've got a train waiting here. I guess I forgot to put a radar down there. I'll have to go do that. And then that goes up here, and then over here, where we're going to be processing our uranium at the bottom of the continent, reserving that big central chunk for the mega base. And now I have the boring part of the build to do. We have all the stuff for the build stockpiled way over here on the other continent, and the best way, the fastest way, I think, to send stuff over here without building more infrastructure for cargo rockets is to just fly over there with my jetpack, pick stuff up, and fly back. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to make a really big nuclear power plant, and I want to make the best nuclear power plant it is possible to make in Factorio, which means we want the most amount of power but the least amount of lag. So here's a little rundown of how nuclear power works in Factorio. You make some sulfuric acid to mine up the uranium, and this is where we're at right now. We are currently mining up the uranium. We're about to start processing it. You send it to a centrifuge to get mostly dark green and a tiny amount of light green. Then you send those to another centrifuge, which converts some of your dark green into a little more of the light green. Then you send those to an assembler and you make some fuel cells. The fuel cell burns in a reactor for 200 seconds and generates heat. The heat is sent down a heat pipe, which heats some water into steam, and the steam generates power in a turbine. So each reactor generates 40 megawatts on its own, but it gets a 100% adjacency bonus for each reactor next to it. So one reactor by itself, 40 megawatts, but two reactors, each reactor contributes 80 megawatts, which is 160 megawatts. And if you do 2x2 reactors, you get an autosave. Of course you do. 2x2 reactors gets you 480 megawatts, so each reactor is doing triple the amount of power. And when you get into a longer string, 2x3, the ones in the middle, each one of these guys has 3 adjacent reactors, so they contribute 160, and the ones at the end, 120. And as your chain gets longer, you get more and more of these ones in the middle, which are generating the maximum amount of power we can get out of a reactor, 160 megawatts. So the ideal nuclear power plant is an unbroken chain of reactors that just never ends. But you start to run into some real issues with space constraints with an unbroken chain of reactors like this. Each reactor is generating 160 megawatts worth of heat, and in order to convert all of that heat into power, this is the number of turbines we need for every single reactor. That's just for one, and we've blocked access to these 2 reactors and these 2 reactors. So what you could do is chain those 5 reactors together with heat pipes. You don't actually need these heat pipes because the reactors will share heat with themselves. But you can send the heat pipe and the heat exchangers and the turbines all the way down to allow space for those 5 reactors. And I haven't even added space for power poles. So this is not enough space either. At this point, we've got a really long chain of water, and we're going to have a lot of problems with throughput, getting the water to go down that far. Even by adding pumps, it's not possible to actually feed this many heat exchangers with just one line of water. So you got to add gaps, you've got to add multiple lines of water, and your heat pipe is not going to support the heat all the way down. There is diminishing returns with the distance the heat will travel down the heat pipe. You can help it a little bit by doubling up your heat pipe. It'll stretch a little bit farther. You can even go triple or quadruple on your heat pipe to get it to stretch farther. But this adds a little bit of lag. And making these super long strings of pipes, that adds a little bit of lag too. So we've got 2 problems we need to figure out. We've got a heat pipe that won't stretch far enough, and we've got water that won't stretch far enough. The water is the first thing we're going to fix, because just to the south of here is a gigantic ocean, and it's why I've got 150,000 landfill. We're going to build this sucker on the water. So we've got our rail system all hooked up. Everything on this continent is connected with power. Our trains are here. All we have to do is add 1 extra power pole to enable those inserters to start offloading the ore and the iron plates. And that's going to run down the line into our offshore production area, our processing center for uranium. I've picked up all of the beacons and taken all the modules out because we do not have enough power for that. We are pushing the limits of what our 250 solar panels can handle. And we're probably going to crash it as soon as that ore gets here. I've actually brought some uranium with me to jumpstart the Govarex process. So we can put these guys in there, and these guys in there, and those guys in there. And I will just give this guy some 238 output, that guy some 238 output. And we have a little bit more here, and we can just do this as well. That should jumpstart the production process. Hopefully our power can handle it, even if these machines aren't operating at full capacity. As long as we get some uranium fuel cells on the belt, that'll be good enough to get it going. Here is the beginning of our nuclear power. We're going to connect our nuclear power blueprint to this guy, so we know how it goes, and so I don't screw up the landfill. And we should be getting a fuel cell already because I brought some processed uranium with me. There we go. Our first nuclear fuel cell. Okay, time for the big stamp. First, the landfill. Ooh, that's gonna take a while. And now that that's done, time for the real deal. So with the blueprint stamped one time, we've gone from a few megawatts of power to 6.7 gigawatts of power. Dang, that seems pretty good. We've solved the water lag issue and the water distribution issue by building our nuclear power plant in the ocean. So we're using an offshore pump, one offshore pump for 12 heat exchangers. So we've got the minimum amount of pipes and the minimum amount of infrastructure for the most amount of power. Hooray! That means we're going to minimize the lag. Now, as to the heat pipe problem, we're going to fix the heat pipe problem by not using heat pipes. Instead, we're going to use the superior heat distribution method of using nuclear reactors. That's right. Nuclear reactors behave just like a heat pipe, but they stretch 5 times as far because they are 5 times as big. Instead of a 1x1 tile, they take up a 5x5 tile. So we have a single string of heat pipes, or nuclear reactors rather, distributing the heat all the way down. A heat pipe would never reach this far, but since we're using the nuclear reactors, it reaches just fine. So now we've got 6.7 gigawatts of power for our megabase, but I think we can do better. Time to kick it up a notch. So there we go. I've stamped my blueprint 3 times, and we've gone from 250 solar panels and a few megawatts of power to 20 gigawatts of power. And we're in the ocean, and it looks like we've got space to stamp this thing maybe another 6 or 7 times. And if that's not enough power, well, the whole planet's covered in ocean, so I think we're gonna be okay. Our nuclear power plant, at the moment, is about the same size as the starter base, and we might just make it a bit bigger. So I think that is gonna do it for this episode. Next time, we're gonna start working on the megabase, which is gonna take up all this space way up here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.